Tonight, dramatic scenes from an RNC raid over the weekend. That story and...
I'm Jenna Head in Mount Pearl. This is what's left of an RBC branch after a daring nighttime robbery.
I think it's time to reconsider what we've done to prevent this from happening.
I'll have the details and reaction coming up.
Can we let this happen again? With Quebec actually basically getting the best part of the deal?
It's frustrating when you've been cleaning something and the person that made the mess tells you how to hold the mop.
A former premier questions the Churchill Falls deal, but the province fires back.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. A man has died following a single vehicle crash on the Trans-Canada Highway near South Brook Friday morning. The RCMP received a report of the crash around 10 a.m. on Friday. Officers found a truck on its side. It went over an embankment. 2 of the 5 passengers were still inside, and one of those passengers was a 75-year-old man who died at the scene. According to police, road and weather conditions at the time of the crash were poor, with reduced visibility and slippery roads. Well, now to Mount Pearl, where a bank was the latest target of a robbery using heavy equipment. It's the 3rd theft using backhoes or excavators in the past month, and now there are calls for companies to lock up their machines. The CBC's Jenna Head reports.
This is all that's left of Mount Pearl's RBC branch. Wreckage, rubble, exposed wires, and no more ATM. The incident happened around 4 a.m. Police say this excavator was the weapon.
This is the 2nd tractor attack in a week and the 3rd in a month. Mount Pearl's mayor says there needs to be a solution.
So if we haven't really put a stop to this within our province, I think it's time to reconsider what we've done to prevent this from happening. Otherwise, this is going to escalate and probably get more dangerous over time. But I can tell you, for example, the city of Mount Pearl has an excavator and several pieces of equipment. They're always under lock and key within our yard.
Just steps away from the RBC is another bank, Newfoundland and Labrador Credit Union. In September, a piece of heavy equipment tried to remove their ATM. But it's not just Mount Pearl. Last week, Carbonear. Before that, St. John's and Holyrood. Acre doesn't want the damage to overshadow the risk to public safety.
Frankly, everybody looks at the shock that you see in the property damage, but there could have been someone hurt here last night. We think it happened overnight, and there could have been cleaners in the building or security personnel. I mean, it's kind of terrifying to know this is on the go in your community.
Police are asking contractors to step up their security measures on construction sites by installing things like locks on doors and alarm systems.
It'd be great to keep keys and any type of item that may make the equipment accessible away from the equipment when not being operated appropriately.
Constable Cadigan is also advising the public that excavators are not used for snow clearing if you see one on the move in the night. Abnormal use of heavy equipment should be reported. Jenna Head, CBC News, Mount Pearl.
Well, the RNC says 7 people were taken into custody following a major raid on Mundy Pond Road in St. John's over the weekend, and so far only 1 person has been charged. The social media video shows the large-scale operation by police on Saturday morning. RNC cruisers and an armored tactical vehicle blocked the street in front of the house that was raided. Multiple officers had weapons drawn. Only 1 of the 7 people arrested has been charged. Police say the raid came after an extensive investigation.
The RNC did execute a search warrant at a property located in the Mundy Pond Road area of St. John's on Saturday, January 11th. That was in connection to property offenses as well as weapons offenses. The investigation is ongoing. We did take multiple occupants of that property into custody in the course of that search. At this time, 1 individual has been charged in connection with that event and was also taken into custody in connection with outstanding arrest warrants. Anytime we're executing a search warrant or carrying an investigation where we believe there may be illegal weapons or firearms, we will ensure to practice the utmost safety precautions for our officers and the community.
Well, Danny Williams is weighing in on the Churchill Falls MOU. The former Newfoundland and Labrador Premier is convinced this province can get a better deal, but the current government is defending the MOU. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
Danny Williams isn't celebrating yet. He's been paying close attention to the reaction in Quebec.
Quebec got what they wanted, when they wanted it, for as long as they wanted it. And that's their words.
And he's certain Newfoundland and Labrador can get a lot more money from Quebec.
Absolutely. I mean, I've said that we should, as a minimum, we should be saying to Hydro-Quebec, double your offer and come back and talk to us and start at doubling your offer. And then we'll start negotiating on our terms.
Williams says he's uncomfortable with how similar this new tentative deal is to the original 1969 deal.
You know, when you look at it, it's very, very similar, structured the same way. A long-term price, a low price for a very, very long term. And that's where we were back in 1969. And, once bitten, twice shy. This is not for me intended to be a partisan criticism. It's basically kind of a wake-up call just saying, look, let's be really careful.
Williams tried to avoid a deal with Quebec when he launched Muskrat Falls, but he says a future deal with Quebec doesn't mean Muskrat Falls was a mistake.
Muskrat Falls is our project. We own it, and we are delivering our power right across the island as far as the capital city, which is in St. John's. That has real value, and it will have long-term value.
Quebec needs this power. There's no doubt about it.
Last week, consumer advocate Dennis Brown was asked to lead an independent review of the deal. Williams says that's a mistake.
Quite simply put, when Mr. Brown was appointed last week, that just raised my eyebrows. Mr. Brown is a long-time party organizer in political campaigns. He's a contributor and a fundraiser, and therefore he has very, very close ties with the party. So Mr. Brown's independence, to me, is not truly independent.
The Industry, Energy and Technology Minister is firing back.
The same old talk that got us into something like Muskrat Falls. And, we're still, just getting to the point where we finish cleaning that up. And it's frustrating when you've been cleaning something, and the person that made the mess tells you how to hold the mop.
Parsons firmly believes that so far the province has negotiated the best possible deal with Quebec.
There's a lot of work left to do, but I'm certainly satisfied with where we are right now.
Now that the MOU has been debated in the House of Assembly, it's up to negotiators to hammer out a final deal. And the target date for that is April 2026. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, an Ironworkers union local in this province has been taken over by its parent office, which voiced concern about activities and operations at Local 764. The CBC's Abby Cole explains.
The top executives of Local 764 have been dropped, including President Larry Hocko and business manager Tom Woodford, who has also been dismissed from his position as president at Trades NL. This comes after its parent organization, the International Ironworkers Union, reviewed local operations. Well, we don't know what they found. They've taken drastic action, which have been outlined in a letter to union members that CBC has obtained. The union's district council delegates and trustees to the various trust funds have been dismissed, and officers were told to hand everything over, including funds, keys, books, and documents. According to this letter, these are emergency measures. They came into effect on Wednesday and will be in place until further notice. In the meantime, Canada's General Vice President and Eastern Canada's President will be taking control of operations. The International Ironworkers Union, as well as Hocko and Woodford, have declined to comment.
Abby Cole, CBC News, Mount Pearl.
Well, we have an update now on a CBC Investigates story about a provincial law meant to punish landlords and tenants who break the rules, and how that law is not working as intended. The goal is to ensure compliance with the legislation. The government said a year ago it was taking action to make changes, but advocates say they're still waiting and patience is starting to grow thin. Rob Antle has the details.
Last spring, this tenant believed his former landlord had done him wrong with a same-day eviction. He spent weeks trying to figure out how to have fines imposed on the landlord under the Residential Tenancies Act.
The written law is very clear, but the way this law is enforced, well, it's not.
A year ago, provincial government officials acknowledged there was a gap in the legislation and pledged to fix it.
It was written there like it should be done soon. I don't know when is soon. Hopefully soon is actually soon.
That was then, and this is now.
It feels awful. It feels... I don't know what's happening. Of course, I'm not inside the government, so I don't know all the details, why it's taking so long.
And he's not the only one trying to find out.
I've been trying to get updates from the government, over the past 6 months or so. And the answers are just vague answers, that things are coming soon, things are in the works, in the coming weeks, those kinds of answers.
Sherwin Flight is administrator of this Facebook group for landlords and tenants. It has about 29,000 members. They've been lobbying for change for years.
I would like to see them do what they promised a year ago and get those changes, made and get this into action so that landlords and tenants aren't having to suffer.
The government brought in a new Residential Tenancies Act in 2018 and highlighted this initiative.
The new legislation will see increase in penalties from a maximum of $400 to a maximum of $10,000 for corporations and $3,000 for individuals. It is our hope that the increase will encourage compliance with the Act.
But no one was put in charge of stick-handling those cases to get them to court. That means no landlord or tenant has ever been fined for breaking the rules. In the fall of 2023, the minister then in charge defended the status quo.
Not having ever administered the fine doesn't defeat the purpose of having the law.
Weeks later, a change of heart and a commitment to address the problem. Then this update in the legislature last April.
We are going to start seeking legal action against landlords and tenants, potentially. We are planning to recruit an additional full-time staff member to undertake those activities.
That job has since been filled, and a new minister is now in charge. Elvis Lovelace did not grant an interview request from CBC News. In a statement, his department says work has begun on a pilot project, which has a primary objective of addressing issues of compliance with the Act that are not effectively addressed through the current dispute resolution process. As part of the pilot project, staff will assess the need for a specific process to identify contraventions for which prosecution may be contemplated. The pilot project will explore ways to increase compliance without the need to resort to court action. The goal remains to achieve voluntary compliance where possible.
People are doing wrong things, and people will continue to be doing wrong things if they know they're not going to be punished.
The department provided no exact date for the pilot project to be fully implemented, only saying that's expected to happen in the near future. Rob Antle, CBC News, St. John's.
I just want to give you an update on the CBC's Make the Season Kind campaign. If you recall, throughout the month of December, CBC partnered with local food banks to collect donations and raise awareness about food insecurity. And now the totals are tallied, and this year's campaign has raised almost $18,000 in this province, plus a total of 70 turkeys during our drive in Happy Valley Goose Bay. And the campaign raised over $1.1 million in the Atlantic region and $7.8 million nationally.
Well, if we take a look at the situation today, we've got an area of low pressure offshore. That is what brought those high waves over the weekend. It's still staying there, but we've definitely got some much colder air filtering in up across Labrador. And if we take a look at the cold air across the country, a nice big Arctic ridge of high pressure dominating the weather picture through parts of central areas and of Canada, western and central areas. Look at that. Minus 19 in Regina today, minus 22 in Winnipeg, and temperatures here much warmer, except we are starting to see some of that colder air filter into Labrador. I'll get into all the details coming up.
Welcome back. We have one quick correction before the break. I mentioned that CBC raised $18,000 locally in the Make the Season Kind campaign, and that number should have been $180,000 raised. Well, now let's go to Labrador West. 3 people went into the water after a snowmobile and attached sled broke through the ice near Labrador City on the weekend. While they weren't injured in the incident, the RNC is asking snowmobilers to be careful when driving on frozen bodies of water. Police say especially rivers have multiple open areas, and they recommend staying on groomed trails, and the local snowmobile club echoes that advice.
On the lakes, there's lots of ice there now. Our last measurements we took were, varies between 16 and 18 inches, probably a little better now in some spots. So we're soon ready to get, our roomers are soon ready to go over the ice. With regards to, I guess for that snowmobile, there was a snowmobile accident here. The rivers are not safe. They never are. There's always fast running water, moving water, so the rivers are always sketchy. So we encourage people to try and stay off the rivers if they can, and particularly around the mouths and the heads of the rivers. The ice is always thin and weak there, so there are always dangerous spots. So people should really stay clear of those areas.
Well, now to some sports. The Newfoundland Rogues were kept busy at the Mary Brown Centre this past weekend. The boys in Burgundy had a 2-game series against the Pontiac Pharaohs from Michigan. On Saturday, the Rogues made quick work of their opponents from south of the border with a 132-106 win. But the Pharaohs returned the favor last night, downing the home team 113-88. After 10 games this season, the Rogues sit in the middle of the stands with 5 wins and 5 losses. And the newest hockey club to call St. John's home was announced on Friday. The yet-to-be-named team will play in the Quebec Maritime Junior Hockey League, the same one as the old Fog Devils. And the news of the latest addition to the Mary Brown Centre is already being embraced by local hockey players and downtown businesses.
There's a great arena that's just waiting to be played in. I could see sellouts here for sure. I can see the community really backing the team. We're really excited about the potential here.
Well, I think it's going to be great. It's going to be great for the city. It's going to be, great for the fans. But I think it's going to be really good for all the young hockey players coming up. That's going to have an opportunity to play. And it was here a few years ago. Hopefully, everyone's learned from their mistakes, and everything's a lot smoother this year than it has been in the past. I played in the league when I was coming up before I turned pro, so it's a great league, great support, and as long as fans come out and support a good product, you're going to see a lot of future NHLers come here every weekend. I just hope there's not a lot of that negativity that's been surrounding a lot of the hockey that's been going on. And when I was here with the Maple Leafs back in the 90s, it was everything was exciting, it was fun, and it carried out throughout the community.
The timing of the hockey season is really critical to the businesses down here because it usually starts in September and goes through a shoulder season that is notoriously not so great for business. And these hockey teams, they bring in thousands of people, and these people come down, they're looking to drink, they're looking to eat, they're looking to go out before, looking to go out after. A major economic benefit. And I think if you talk with a lot of businesses down here and looked at the period from September to December, we definitely felt the pinch without a tenant there and without a couple thousand getting down there every once in a while. This is a determined group of people, and I think for a lot of them this might be the last kick of the cat. There's a lot of talk about whether or not we're a hockey town or not, and we firmly believe, and I know all those guys there, they firmly believe that we are. Sometimes the conditions weren't right and there weren't right relationships built, but we're not going to think about that. We're going to think about the start of the next season, getting a good team with a good name in there, and we just hope for the best.
I just think the organization here in the city got to sit down and work together. You can't be talking behind each other's back all the time. They got to sit and make sure things are ironed out. And is it always going to be smooth? No relationship is ever smooth. But you can't keep going to social media. You can't be going to the papers. You can't be in the media talking to you negatively. And if sometimes if things are going wrong, they sit down and work things out. And like I said, it's going to be a great product. They got a great rink. You got great people here, so it's all positive. And I just hope things stay positive in the right way, and we have a good team for years to come.
Time for a look at the weather, and things have cooled down out there, and a little dusting of snow on the ground.
Yeah, it's actually a bit slippery out there depending on where you are. So if you are planning on heading out at all, just keep that in mind over the next few hours. We're in a northwesterly flow, and that is keeping us unsettled. Let's take a look at what the plan or what is happening right now. We've got that area of low pressure offshore. That's what's responsible for that northwesterly flow. And we've got some of that colder air dipping in up across parts of Labrador, and then again some of the cooler air further south as well. But we definitely have some really cold air to the west, and we're going to keep an eye on that cold air as we head through the next couple of days, because it is going to drift eastward as we head towards midweek, and then eventually catches up to the western or to the northern portion of Labrador as well. So some much colder air moving in for Thursday, really spreading across Labrador as we head into Friday as well. And then we see a change again as we head into Saturday, return of that southerly flow, which is going to warm things up pretty much across the province, with the exception of potentially the northern portion of Labrador, but certainly going to keep an eye on that as we head through the week. Right now, there you see some snow on the ground there, generally grassy surfaces though, but that's not the case everywhere across the metro area. Right now we're sitting at -1. It's snowing at the airport, and winds are out of the north-northwest around 28 kilometers per hour. But we can certainly see that northwesterly flow and some of the flurries that are happening, particularly for the northern portion of the Avalon. Some of the southwest seeing some of those flurries as well. But this pattern generally is going to continue at least through the next couple of days. And as far as the temperatures go for now, we are also seeing some cooler temperatures between 0 and about -3 right now. Southern areas of the Avalon a little warmer, about +1, but there's that colder air. It's talking about -15 in Lab City. That is still a couple of degrees above where you should be sitting this time of year, but certainly heading in the right direction for sure. As far as what's going to happen tonight, like I said, that northwesterly flow, pretty much what you see is what you get, with the potential for some flurries for the all along the northeast coast. Same thing for coastal areas of Labrador. We may see some clearing skies along southern areas of the province, but or southern areas of the island rather, but that's about it. Overall, our overnight lows are going to dip. We should be hovering around -1 in the east. Otherwise, minus single digits, mid-minus single digits, even potentially minus double digits for the west coast. And then Labrador as well, minus single digits to hanging out where you are right now in Lab City at about -15. Now, as far as that snowfall goes, there isn't a whole lot to talk about, but really pretty much from the Beaver Peninsula through to Bonavista North, and well, really towards the northern Avalon, all along the northeast coast there. That's where we should see the most snowfall. It isn't significant by any means, but we could pick up between 2 to 5 centimeters by the time we get into Wednesday morning. And again, it's just because of the pattern that we're in. Now, there's still the chance we will see some sunshine for parts of the province as well tomorrow. It's a decent day other than that chance of flurries. But overall, the most quiet weather really will be up across Labrador. You're still looking at the chances of some flurries in the mix there, but not much in the way of accumulation. Temperatures tomorrow will hover around the 0 degree mark east as you head towards the west coast and even southern areas, a little bit below 0. Winds generally light for the west coast, but all along the northeast coast where you're close to that area of low pressure, those northwesterlies will be gusting somewhere between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. And then again, staying below 0 in the southeast. Mary's Harbour will hover around -2, -8 for Nain for your Tuesday afternoon forecast. And then those of you in Lab West, that's where the coldest air will be at this point. Still looking at a temperature around -11 with the potential for some flurry. So like I said, we do have some much colder air moving in as we head towards at least the middle of the week, end of the week, with a warm up by the time we get into Saturday, it looks like at this point. But I'll get into those details a little later.
Thank you, Ashley. Well, returning now to reaction to the new Churchill Falls deal, former Newfoundland and Labrador Premier Danny Williams says Quebec's bargaining power should be weakened because they're running out of time to strike a deal, and this province should have the upper hand. Williams says the starting point for electricity rates should be double the amount the two provinces agreed on in the MOU.
All the senior people from Hydro-Quebec and Quebec have spoken on this. The chief negotiator, Michael Sabia, who's the CEO of Hydro-Quebec, in an article with the Globe and Mail, dated the same day as the announcement, said anytime I can get a power for 4 cents for 50 years, I'm going to grab it. In the same interview, he also said every year that goes by, our leverage, being Quebec's leverage, goes down against Newfoundland and Labrador. So that's, directly contrary to what I'm hearing, which is, no, we got to do the deal now. Well, no, there's no urgency here. This has to be on our terms and our time. And, Mr. Legault's statement that it's a win-win, some people in Newfoundland and Labrador think, well, anything is better than nothing. And in the other deal, we had next to nothing, so now we got something. Well, they've described our asset, the Churchill River, as one of the best assets in the entire world. Now, that has huge value. That's gold. And, so we should maximize that. And time is on our side. They're running out of time. We've got time on our hands. We should be in no hurry. So, a small win is not good enough. We need a fair and an equal win. And that should ultimately be a share of the profits of our river. If they didn't get the power from us, it would cost them 16 cents at a minimum to replace that cost in Quebec. Very costly in Quebec, they said. And the amount that they're saying to us is basically it's less than 4 cents. So their replacement cost, if we walked away from the table, would be 4 times what they're offering us. So, in my opinion, there's, a lot on the table here. And I really think it's important that based on their words that we be very, very vigilant and very cautious about this. They've described it as a remarkable price, a powerfully attractive price. So when the other side of the table is saying that, I get very concerned. And then the final comment, which not a final one, but another comment which was made by the other co-negotiator, which was Mr. Rayum, he basically said that this is the same deal as the 1969 deal. Well, for me, that's red flags, alarm bells, and everything else. So I'm out today to basically express caution, to be very vigilant and diligent with the Hydro-Quebec negotiators, because they're the best in the world.
This disconnects the ignition and only reconnects it if it gets a valid digital signal.
Well, with the rise of brazen big machine bank robberies, a local company has a digital solution to keep heavy equipment safe.
So here's what we've gathered from talking to local residents.
I spoke with a renter who's facing eviction this fall.
It is not for the weak of stomachs.
What does it mean for you to be able to give that advice and to know that you've helped?
Don't look down.
If this is something that you didn't know about, let me tell you.
Heather Gillis, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
St. John's.
Corner Brook.
Shaji, Inuk First Nation.
Grand Falls, Windsor.
New West Valley, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Well, as we heard earlier in the show, another backhoe bandit made off with an ATM, this time in Mount Pearl just last night. That's the third robbery using stolen backhoes in the past month. Last Thursday, 2 excavators were used to destroy a Scotiabank in Carbonear and steal an ATM. And charges were laid after stolen machinery was used to destroy a Royal Bank in Holyrood just before the holidays. And all of these destructive robberies used stolen heavy equipment. And there's a local startup hoping to help companies curb these thefts. Craig Hannum is co-founder of Veristart, and we're here now in their St. John's office. So can you start by telling us about your company? What is it you do?
Sure. So Veristart is a tech startup, and we're solving the problem of construction equipment access control. And essentially, we're preventing theft and also making sure that the operator of that machine is trained and approved to operate that particular machine. And what we've designed is a technology solution that disables the ignition on these heavy machinery and only re-enables it if a valid operator tries to start the machine using a digital credential on their phone.
So how does it work?
So this is the hardware device that we install in the cab of the machine. And like I said, this disconnects the ignition and only reconnects it if it gets a valid digital signal. In the online cloud part of the solution, the fleet manager can log in and they can see all their equipment because there is a GPS in here as well. So they can see exactly where the machine is and they can see who's operating the machine at any given time. And then those operators will get a set of digital keys and a mobile app on their phone. And they can use those digital keys then to engage with the device in the cab, basically by pushing a button that enables that machine to start. And with that, if an operator doesn't have that digital key on their phone, then the machine just can't start.
So in order for someone to start the vehicle, they need to not only have like a physical key, they also need this digital key on their phone. So if someone goes in and they have a key, they still can't start it because they need it on the digital key on their phone as well.
That's exactly right. It's an extra layer of security over and above that common key.
And how did you come up with this?
So there are 3 co-founders involved, myself, Lou Lawrence, and Ajay Pand. And Lou and I worked for many, many years at United Rentals. So we knew about the equipment. We understood the common key and all the possible security problems that causes. So we started thinking about this problem of construction equipment theft about 2 years ago, back when the excavator was stolen in Galway and driven across the street and attacked the Scotiabank there. But really in the last 8 months, we've been really working hard to solve this problem. In Newfoundland, certainly we're fortunate that our news is not too bad, so these things make the news when they happen for sure. In a lot of other places around the world, it's not a big enough deal to make the news, but it happens everywhere. So even within Canada, we had last year there was a rash of break-ins in around the Calgary area. And just, I think it was New Year's Eve, there was a big break-in in Toronto where someone used a backhoe to steal an ATM. And it happens around the world. There was a case a couple of years ago in Italy where thieves stole 2 excavators, blocked the highway, and used it to rip open an armored car and got away with over $2 million. That's, I mean, some of the stories are just crazy. But besides the theft, there's a big safety risk here, right? Because someone's going to get hurt, and for the construction equipment owners, the ease of access for construction machinery is a big concern on their job sites as well. Because just like a thief can easily start a machine, well, an employee who maybe shouldn't be operating that machine or is not trained to operate that machine can just as easily jump in the cab and be dangerous to those around them. So, from a construction point of view, there's theft. And then there's also safety and compliance concern with the current system.
So I mentioned that last night was the 3rd backhoe bandit incident that we've had just in the past month. What did you think when you heard that 3 in 1 month?
I'm flabbergasted every time it happens. I can't believe someone would cause that much destruction to get a bit of cash. And that particular one last night was right next door to the credit union that was hit in September.
So this startup, Veristart, you haven't been operating for very long, just eight months or so?
8 months ago, we hired our first employees.
Yeah, so not long. What are your hopes going forward? Where do you want to take all of this?
Well, certainly we've had worldwide interest in Veristart. Hitachi in Japan has been a big supporter. Actually, they're showcasing Veristart and all of us at BOMA in Munich coming up in April. So that's the largest equipment trade show in the world. So that's really exciting. And like I said, we've had investors in San Francisco who are interested. We get outreach, just about every day from all around the world where this is a big problem.
Well, Craig Hannum, thank you so much for telling us about this, and good luck with it.
No, thank you so much for coming in.
Fires in Los Angeles have already killed at least 24 people and destroyed 12,000 structures. We spoke with some people from this province who have property in the city last week, and now a new week is starting with what authorities call a particularly dangerous situation.
Severe fire weather conditions will continue through Wednesday. The anticipated winds, combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in all of Los Angeles County critical.
The concern is that high winds could set back the progress firefighters have made containing the blazes. 92,000 people are affected by mandatory evacuation orders, and fire officials are warning more residents to prepare to leave their homes. Police say more than 30 people have been arrested for looting and warn that scammers are soliciting donations for bogus relief efforts. And the scale of the fire disaster in Los Angeles is difficult to comprehend, and the need to understand it is spawning conspiracy theories online. Yvette Brand reports.
As crews fight California's raging fires, conspiracy theories keep catching fire online.
This laser-directed energy weapon operates at the speed of light.
There are posts blaming the deadly fires on everything from laser beams to aliens.
How the f*** does that even happen?
Is it on purpose?
One Hollywood star is floating possibilities of his own.
But one begins to ponder whether or not there is a purpose in mind. What could it be, I don't know. Do they want the state empty? I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie, it really makes me frustrated.
Scientists who study fire behavior say while these sorts of posts are infuriating, they also recognize people are struggling to understand these catastrophic fires.
The natural human need to want to point the blame somewhere.
One example, some wonder why there are trees still standing while everything around it is burnt to the ground.
You would see that tree still standing, but the outside bark of that tree would have completely burnt. It has a self-protective mechanism in there where that jar is going to limit how much more that tree can burn.
Conspiracy theories are often rampant during fires, says this expert.
And they generate fear and suspicion exactly when we need trust and concerted action.
I mean, as a scientist, it hurts my soul.
Fear of wildfires forced this scientist to leave Altadena, California 2 years ago. His old home burned this week.
A place can reach a tipping point like this where it just becomes essentially impossible to put the fires out.
Still, others like Mel Gibson continue to float their own ideas.
I can make all kinds of horrible theories up in my head, conspiracy theories and everything else, but it just seemed a little convenient that there was no water.
Climate scientists hope now the public puts focus on facts and the challenges exhausted firefighters face with more hot, dry winds coming. Yvette Brand, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, a team of scientists in Antarctica has been studying a piece of ice drilled from deep below the polar surface. It dates back more than 1 million years. Karen Pauls looks at how the ice core could help solve mysteries about Earth's changing climate.
Deep in Antarctica, at a remote research station, a team of scientists has been drilling into the ice to the rock nearly 3 kilometers down. They've extracted an ice core that, when laid out end to end, is longer than 8 Eiffel Towers and provides a record of 1.2 million years of Earth's climate, the first of its kind.
It's just an enormous success. We're so thrilled.
Suspended in the ice are ancient air bubbles and particles scientists hope will solve a mystery about Earth's climate history. Specifically, what happened 900,000 to 1.2 million years ago when Earth's climate became less predictable, more rapidly changing between cold and warm periods. Some researchers say our ancestors came close to extinction. Scientists believe CO2 and other greenhouse gases were responsible. Preliminary research suggests levels then were as high as they are today.
It's a riddle for us. We just don't understand what causes the climate to change like that.
But this isn't the oldest ice discovered. That was retrieved last year in Antarctica by American scientists, dating back 6 million years. Princeton's John Higgins says this research is especially important at a time when some people still don't believe in climate change.
Ice cores give us really a unique record of Earth's past in that they trap little bits of essentially ancient atmosphere. And so they're really the closest you can get to going back in a time machine and being able to measure what the atmosphere was like in the past, with an idea about, how those might be relevant for understanding how Earth's climate might change in the future.
This latest sample is being kept at minus 50 degrees Celsius. It's being cleaned and cut into pieces so it can be transported to labs around Europe, where scientists will do their analysis. The first results expected late this year. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Look at that one over there.
Is this good?
Yeah, a little bit more. That felt good.
Therapeutic almost.
There's a wrestling ring down there. What's that about?
This is wild.
Walkers out enjoying trails near George's Pond near Cowan Heights say illegally dumped trash is out of control there. They're finding tires and even furniture strewn about. Some city councillors say the situation has become a potential health hazard, and they were out helping clean up the mess over the weekend.
So yesterday, the community came together. We managed to hold a community cleanup. It was a great time, and I was happy to announce as well that we're going to be installing cameras up here to catch people who are illegally dumping garbage and refuse.
How often do you use this trail?
At least almost every day. One day it'll be beautifully clear, and the next day there'll be someone's living room sofa. It's disgusting, absolutely disgusting what's being dumped up here.
And why do you think people are bringing it here instead of the dump?
I don't get it, because the dump is super easily accessible, and I mean, it's only not open, Sundays and Mondays? So I don't get, if you can bring it this far, why they aren't bringing it to the dump.
We're at the top here at George's Pond. Everything that pollutes this area feeds down through the water system, feeds into Cowan Heights, into Waterford Valley. This site is used by residents for a lot of recreational purposes, whether it's taking their dog for a walk, going for some fishing. And unfortunately, we have a significant issue of illegal dumping and pollution in the area, which is really a city issue.
Yesterday, when we were in doing the cleanup, I mean, tires, people just dumping tires and roofing materials and bags of personal garbage. There's absolutely no need for that at all in this day and age.
There's a big year this year with Canada Games. A lot of people are coming. There's always people coming to Newfoundland and Labrador, of course. But, to the capital city, let's get out there and get cleaned up this year, make an extra effort, and then make it permanent. Make these habits permanent. So when we go in the woods, let's take everything back out and ideally pick up a little bit that maybe someone's left for us.
Dumping a couch?
That takes some effort.
My goodness, and you're familiar with the area too, right?
Yeah, dogs like it up there a lot. Nice. It is a nice place to walk your dogs for sure.
Yeah, it's too bad. Hopefully it all gets cleaned up.
I hope so.
People take their garbage to the dump.
Yeah.
It was looking very wintry though in those shots with that snow that came down over the weekend. Are we expecting any more snow as we look ahead to the long range forecast?
Yes, on and off. It is definitely a more wintry shift than what we've been seeing over the last little bit. Let's take a look at what's going on weather-wise as we head into Wednesday. So that area of low pressure is still going to sit offshore for a little while, but it is going to move further away, still keeping us in, a little bit of onshore flow for sure, which is going to keep things unsettled through the day on Wednesday. We're going to see a bit of a shift in the winds, though, so more of a northeasterly flow through the day. And again, another area of low pressure just to the south, which may bring some snow to southern areas of the Avalon. Overall, still the chance of some sunshine in the mix there as well. About 0 degrees for St. John's through central, west coast, even the south coast, somewhere between -1 and -3 as the daytime highs. And then still hanging on to the minus double digits up across Labrador, particularly the north and the west, otherwise minus single digits. Pretty decent Wednesday on tap for most of you up across the Big Land with some sunshine in the mix and just a few flurries for Lab West. As we head into Thursday, now there's an area of low pressure that is going to pass just east of us rather. Depending on how far that is offshore, we may not see snow from this, or we may see some snow from this. A couple of models showing that we may. So I'm going to keep an eye on that for our Thursday. Depending on how close it gets, we could see some accumulating snow. If not, likely just some flurries through the afternoon for mainly just eastern Newfoundland at this point, and maybe just the Avalon altogether. But going to keep an eye on that one. Otherwise, quiet weather for the rest of the island and up across Labrador as well, with some sunshine, just some increasing cloud to the west. But again, temperatures are going to start to drop now for Happy Valley Goose Bay. You'll sit around -12 through the day and hanging out in the minus single digits again for the rest of the Big Land. And overall, temperatures across the island will sit somewhere between +1 or even 0 to about -3 as our afternoon highs. Long range forecast looks pretty decent other than keeping that snow in there for Thursday at this point. Friday and Saturday still looking at the chance of some flurries, but some sunshine in the mix there as well. Overall daytime highs will be between 0 and about -1. For Central, you're also looking at some flurry activity on and off through the week, and then more so for Western Newfoundland with temperatures between 0 and about -3. And then for Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures dipping back down finally to the minus double digits with some sunshine through Friday, Saturday, return of some flurries, and then same thing for Western Labrador as well. Our weather photo of the day taken in St. Philip's. Take a look at this shot. What a beautiful day to explore the East Coast Trail. Thank you to Lisa for that. If you have any weather photos that you'd like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love the little dog
I was
there
going to say,
blending
spot the beagle.
in. Love that. Love all the photos that come in with little animals in
Me
it. So
too.
thank
My
you so much.
favorite.
Me too. All right, well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. Hope you can join us again tomorrow.